In this video, we are going to go through the modeling with trigonometric functions number 2 question. As noted, you will need a graphing calculator for this problem, as we'll use the regression features of the calculator to find a model and answer some questions about this scenario. So we always start by reading the problem. Find a trigonometric model for the data in the table below showing the average daily temperature T in degrees Fahrenheit in Fairbanks, Alaska as a function of time t measured in months with t equals 0 representing January 1st. It's key to note in the directions that you are being asked to find a model showing the average daily temperature T as a function of time t. In other words, the average daily temperature T, capital T, should be your y value, and since that's being written as a function of time lowercase t, the lowercase t time measures are your x values. So looking at the table of values, the first row there, the lowercase t, those are your x values, and the uppercase t are your y values. So in order to get a model and answer questions, we need to input the data into our graphing calculator so that we can come up with the model and go from there. So to load the data in your calculator, you hit Stat and choose the Edit option. I already preloaded the data in here just for time purposes. And once it's in here, normally you're not told what kind of a function you are supposed to model the data with, but because we're specifically working with trigonometric functions here, we know that we're going to use the sign regression option. So we can immediately hit Stat, go to the Calc option, and instead of scrolling down, if you scroll up, it'll take you to the bottom of the list, and you'll see the sign regression as one of the bottom options there. When you choose that option, you don't have to do anything with iterations. Our list 1 are our x values, our list 2 are our y values. We don't mess with the period at all, but we definitely want our calculator to store this equation for us. So we just have to tell it where, and normally, unless something else is already there, we store it in y1. So there's multiple ways to get to y1. The long way, especially if you have an older calculator, is to hit vars, go to the y-vars option, choose function, and then you'll have your list of y1, y2, so on and so forth. But if you have a newer calculator, the best and easiest way to do it is to hit alpha. And if you look up here at your graphing buttons, F1, F2, F3, F4, F5, we're going to choose F4, and then we get to pick which y equation we want to put it into. So I'm going to choose y1, and then I'm going to go down to calculate here. And after my calculator is done processing, here's my equation. And on the version you guys have, the directions ask you to round to the nearest thousandth, so 3 decimal places. So your answer for the model should be y equals 37.408 times sine, parentheses, 0.518x minus 1.717, close parentheses, plus 26.505. And luckily, because we told our calculator to store it for us, we don't have to retype this in. So the first thing we want to do is write this down as our model. So if we go to the solutions here, you can see that the model is t equals everything that I just said. And that part is done for us. And the calculator already put the equation into y equals for us. So if you hit the y equals button, y1 gives us the equation already typed in. And then we can answer the rest of the questions from there. So speaking of the rest of the questions, there are 3 more questions. First one being, use your model to predict the daily temperature on December 1st. Now you got to think about this one a little bit, because back in the directions it told us that t equals 0 is January 1st, which means that t equals 1 is February 1st. So it's a little bit offset from what you would normally expect. Normally we would call January 1st would probably be 1, but in this case January 1st is 0. So if we go through that pattern and decide what December 1st is, December 1st is actually going to be when little t equals 11. So it's going to be in between 10.5 and 11.5 here. We're going to use our model to predict the temperature on December 1st, and there are multiple ways to do this on our calculator. So one thing that is always a good idea is to take a look at the graph of this. So if we were to hit graph right now, your calculator is going to default to the standard window, especially if you've reset it anytime recently. And in the standard window, your x and your y-axis go from -10 to 10, which may or may not be a good window, and in our case, it's really not that good of a window. So if we want to look at specifically our data points, we have to turn the plot on, and then we have to use a particular zoom option that gives us a nice window. So let's first turn our plot on. Now again, there's two ways to do this. The long way to do it is to hit second y equals, which is your stat plot options. Go to plot 1 up there and hit enter. Turn your plot on and then just make sure that it's a scatter plot. Your x and y lists are accurate. You can choose whatever marking you want. On the newer versions of the calculators with the color option, you can even choose what color you want your points to be graphed in. So I'm going to show you the other way to do it. If you just hit y equals, as long as your x's are list 1 and your y's are list 2, you can just go up to plot 1 here, hit enter, and it'll bold it, which means that now plot 1 is on, and it automatically does the scatter plot with the x's is list 1 and the y's is list 2. So if we would hit graph, it would just show us the same window that we had before. But the nice zoom option that we have is if you hit zoom and choose option 9 there, zoom stat, now it puts all of your data points in a window. It fits it for you, and then you can see that this curve goes through those pretty nicely. So once you have this up here, as long as the x, or little t value in our case, is in this window, you can use second trace, which gives you your calculate options, and choose the value option there and type in whatever x, or in our case little t value, we want, and there's our answer for the prediction of the temperature on December 1st, which would be -1.459. Now there are multiple other ways to do this, one of which is using one of your graphing buttons up here, and that is to choose second graph, which is your table. Now your table automatically defaults to the x's going up by 1s, and then it gives you the corresponding y values. In this particular problem, we could easily scroll down and we would get 11 on there, and it would give us our prediction. But there is another option that you can do on your table here. If you hit second window, you can tell your table where to start, so you could have it start at 11, and then it would be the first option that pops up. You can make your change in table different, so instead of your x's going up by 1s, you could have them go up by 5s, 10s, or even 0.5. Depending on the problem, using that option might be a good choice. But maybe an even better option is to choose the independent variable and switch it from auto to ask, so that now when you hit second graph and you go back into your table, it looks like it's a blank table, but what you've done now is you've allowed yourself to type in any x value you want, and it'll give you that corresponding prediction from your curve. It only will go to 3 decimal places usually, but if you take your cursor and you go over that y value, you can see at the bottom of the screen it gives you more decimal places if you would need to round to more than 3 decimals. The nicest thing about this is you can continue to type in whatever x values you want and get however many predictions you might need very quickly. There's a third and final option, and it's probably my favorite. As long as you have your equation in one of your y1, y2, whatever, you can get predictions from the main screen using function notation. So we have our equation as y1. So if I hit second mode, which quit, gets me back to the main screen. Remember earlier we said alpha F4 lets us choose these y options. So if I choose y1, on the main screen I get y1, and then in parentheses I can put any x value I want, and the calculator will automatically input that and do the calculation for you. So if I hit enter, there's that answer again. And I really like this option for the main screen because I can continue to do that for as many values as I want. and get the predictions that I need depending on what the problem is asking me for. So the correct answer for the prediction for the temperature on December 1st ends up being negative 1.459 degrees Fahrenheit. And don't forget, this is an approximation, so you should use the approximation symbol instead of the equal symbol. And you should always label as well. So we're talking about degrees Fahrenheit, which was in the directions. So the last part of this problem was to give a realistic domain for the situation and then explain why, and give a realistic range for the situation and explain why. The domain for this one is pretty simple, but you got to think about it a little bit. Since t equals 0 represents January 1st, we need to include 0 as a possible domain value, possible x value, in our case a little t value. But the assumption would be that you would go up to 12 or 13. But remember, when we did our prediction for December 1st is the number 11 because of the way that the months work out. And that means 11.5 would be, that would be December 15th. Now, if you go all the way to 12, so if you were going to say that your domain was 0 to 12, you would have to decide if you're going to include 12 or not. And in this case, you actually would not include 12. And the reason is, if you include 12, that actually would represent January 1st of the following year. So if we're only looking at 1 year's worth of data, the correct domain would be from 0 to 12, including 0 but not including 12. So in other words, you would have a bracket on your 0 and a parentheses on your 12. Your explanation could vary, but you would have to explain why you came up with those values. In terms of the range, here's the range that I came up with. And what many of you have gotten in the habit of doing for the range is you just look at the table and you pick the lowest value and you pick the highest value, and those become your lower and upper range values, and then you put brackets on them and then you go. And sometimes, that makes sense, but in this case, negative 10.1, that's the lowest value in the table, but if you use the model where 26.505 represents your midline and 37.408 represents your amplitude, if you take 26.505 and you subtract 37.408, you actually end up with negative 10.903 as your lowest predicted value from your model, which is lower than negative 10.1. So using both your data and your model, the best lower value for the range would be negative 10.903. Similarly, the upper value of your range, if you just use the table of values up here, would be 62.5. But if you use the midline value of 26.505 and the amplitude of 37.408, if you add those, you end up with 63.913, which is a bit higher than the highest value in the table. So that's where I got my lower and upper range values for. And some people would argue, maybe negative 11 for the low value and 64 for the high value, because those are a little bit lower and higher than even the predicted values. And that is fine as well, as long as you justify it in your written explanation. So there you have it. That is modeling with trig functions number 2. If you have any questions about how to use the calculator, to use the regression features, or find values, or come up with a realistic domain or range, I'd be happy to answer those questions for you. Just bring them to me.